Walking in the Spirit begins with alignment on the inside before any movement on the outside. It is the decision to let inner truth lead rather than external noise push. When life applies pressure, most people react instinctively, allowing urgency, fear, or expectation to dictate their next move. Internal alignment shifts that dynamic. It creates a steady center that remains unmoved even when everything around you demands immediate action. From that place, choices are no longer rushed, and direction becomes intentional rather than accidental. Living from internal alignment requires awareness of what is happening beneath the surface. Thoughts, beliefs, motives, and convictions must be examined regularly. Many people live disconnected from themselves, responding to life without understanding why they respond the way they do. Walking in the Spirit reconnects you to purpose. It sharpens your ability to recognize what aligns with your values and what quietly pulls you away from them. External pressure thrives on speed and comparison. It urges you to keep up, prove yourself, and respond before you are ready. Internal alignment slows the process just enough to restore clarity. You stop moving because others are moving and start moving because the direction is right. This creates stability in decision-making and prevents you from building a life based on borrowed urgency or misplaced priorities. When alignment governs your life, circumstances lose their power to control you. Challenges still appear, but they no longer dictate your emotional state or self-worth. You understand that circumstances are temporary, while alignment is foundational. Instead of adjusting your identity to fit the situation, you adjust your actions to remain faithful to your values, regardless of external conditions. Walking in the Spirit teaches you to respond rather than react. Reaction is driven by emotion and pressure, while response is guided by clarity and conviction. This shift transforms how you handle conflict, setbacks, and opportunities. You are no longer pulled into unnecessary battles or distracted by every demand for your attention. Your energy is preserved for what truly matters. Internal alignment also produces consistency. When actions are rooted in conviction rather than emotion, follow-through becomes natural. You no longer rely on motivation because alignment creates commitment. Even on difficult days, you remain steady because your actions are anchored to something deeper than how you feel in the moment. Living this way requires courage because alignment often conflicts with popular opinion. External pressure seeks approval, validation, and acceptance. Internal alignment seeks truth, growth, and integrity. Walking in the Spirit means choosing what is right over what is easy, even when no one is watching or applauding. As alignment strengthens, clarity increases. Confusion fades not because life becomes simpler, but because your inner compass becomes sharper. You recognize distractions faster, detach from unnecessary drama, and make cleaner decisions. Your path becomes clearer not because obstacles disappear, but because your direction is settled. Walking in the Spirit also reshapes your relationship with time. You no longer feel rushed or behind. You understand that alignment produces efficiency while pressure produces exhaustion. When you move in alignment, each step carries purpose, and wasted effort begins to fall away naturally. Internal alignment is not a one-time decision, but a daily practice. It requires constant recalibration, reflection, and honesty with yourself. Each day presents new pressures attempting to pull you off course, and each day alignment calls you back to intentional living, grounded awareness, and deliberate action. Discipline and principles are the framework that create stability in a life that would otherwise be ruled by emotional fluctuations. Emotions are powerful, but they are also inconsistent and reactive. When emotions lead, decisions change based on mood, pressure, or comfort. When principles lead, actions remain steady regardless of internal or external conditions. Discipline becomes the bridge between intention and execution. Principles provide direction when emotions are unclear or overwhelming. There are moments when motivation fades, confidence dips, or fear grows louder. In those moments, relying on how you feel will almost always lead to retreat or delay. Principles do not ask how you feel, they remind you of who you decided to be. They hold you to a standard that emotions alone cannot sustain. Discipline is the daily practice of honoring principles even when it is uncomfortable. It is choosing structure over impulse, and commitment over convenience. Emotions often seek immediate relief, while discipline seeks long-term results. When discipline leads, progress continues even on days when enthusiasm is absent or resistance feels heavy. Allowing emotions to lead places life on a roller coaster. One day you act, the next day you hesitate. One moment you are confident, the next you are uncertain. Discipline flattens those extremes. It creates rhythm and consistency. Instead of asking whether you feel like showing up, you show up because that is who you are becoming. Principles act as filters for decision making. Not every thought deserves attention, and not every feeling deserves action. Walking in discipline means acknowledging emotions without surrendering authority to them. You observe feelings, learn from them, and then choose actions that align with your values rather than your impulses. When discipline leads emotions, resilience increases. Discomfort no longer signals danger, it signals growth. Fear no longer stops progress, it becomes information. You learn to move forward despite internal resistance because you trust your principles more than temporary emotional states. This approach builds self-respect. Each time discipline overrides impulse, integrity is strengthened. You become someone who keeps commitments, not just when it is easy, but when it is difficult. Confidence grows not from positive emotions, but from repeated proof that you can rely on yourself. Principles also protect focus. Emotions are easily influenced by distractions, opinions, and comparison. Discipline narrows attention to what matters most. It prevents energy from being wasted on reactions and redirects it toward purposeful action that compounds over time. As discipline takes the lead, emotional maturity develops. You stop suppressing emotions and start managing them. Instead of being controlled by anger, fear, or excitement, you regulate them. This control does not diminish passion. It channels it into productive direction. Leading with discipline and principles is a lifelong practice. It requires constant recommitment and awareness. Each day presents choices between comfort and growth, impulse and intention, emotion and execution. Clarity is the ability to see what matters and what does not, and without it, movement becomes wasted effort. Many people stay busy not because they are effective, but because they are avoiding stillness. Constant activity can create the illusion of progress while quietly pulling attention away from what truly produces results. Clarity brings focus, and focus gives direction to energy. Discernment builds on clarity by teaching you what to engage and do it, to ignore. Not every opportunity is an assignment, and not every demand deserves a response. Discernment allows you to distinguish between what looks good and what is actually aligned. It prevents you from scattering your efforts across too many directions and weakening your impact. Speed without clarity often leads to regret. When decisions are made too quickly, consequences are discovered too late. Moving fast may feel productive, but without understanding, it multiplies mistakes. Clarity slows you down just enough to see the full picture, and that pause often saves months or years of correction. Timing transforms ordinary actions into powerful ones. The same move made too early creates resistance, and the same move made too late creates loss. Timing is not about waiting out of fear, it is about moving with awareness. When timing is right, effort feels lighter and results compound more naturally. Constant activity can become a form of distraction. It keeps the mind occupied while preventing reflection. Many people stay in motion because stillness forces them to confront uncertainty or misalignment. Clarity and discernment require quiet moments, and those moments often reveal what busyness has been hiding. Discernment protects energy. When you say yes to everything, you dilute your strength. When you choose carefully, your energy becomes concentrated. Power is not created by doing more. It is created by doing what matters with precision and intention. Clarity also strengthens confidence. When you know why you are moving and where you are going, hesitation fades. Doubt often comes from confusion, not inability. Once direction is clear, commitment becomes easier and follow-through becomes more consistent. Timing requires patience, and patience is often misunderstood as inaction. In reality, patience is disciplined restraint. It is the ability to wait without quitting and to prepare without rushing. Those who respect timing avoid burnout and position themselves for sustainable success. Speed tends to impress others, but clarity produces lasting results. Fast movement may attract attention, but aligned movement builds momentum. Discernment ensures that progress is not just visible, but meaningful and durable. When clarity, discernment, and timing lead, action becomes strategic rather than frantic. Each step carries intention, and effort aligns with purpose instead of pressure. Silence is often misunderstood as absence, but in reality, it is presence with intention. Choosing silence means refusing to waste energy on unnecessary explanations, reactions, or arguments. It is the discipline of restraint, the ability to observe without immediately responding. Those who master silence are not lacking strength. They are conserving it for moments that truly matter. Stillness is the space where clarity is refined. In a world addicted to movement and noise, remaining still requires courage. Stillness forces awareness, and awareness reveals truth. Many avoid stillness because it exposes misalignment and internal conflict. Those who embrace it gain insight that constant motion can never provide. Focus is the natural result of silence and stillness combined. When external noise is reduced and internal chaos settles, attention becomes sharp. Focus allows effort to be directed with precision rather than scattered across distractions. Power grows when energy is concentrated instead of divided. Silence prevents emotional leakage. Speaking prematurely often turns private thoughts into public liabilities. By remaining silent, you give yourself time to evaluate intentions, refine ideas, and choose words that align with purpose. Silence protects influence and preserves authority. Stillness strengthens emotional regulation. When you pause before acting, you regain control over impulses. Stillness interrupts reactive patterns and creates space between stimulus and response. In that space, wisdom has room to operate and impulsive decisions lose their grip. Focus eliminates unnecessary conflict. When attention is fixed on direction rather than distraction, provocation loses its power. Not every comment requires defense, and not every challenge demands confrontation. Focus keeps you moving forward without being pulled sideways by noise. Silence also heightens perception. When you are not speaking, you are listening. When you are listening, you are learning. Subtle signals, patterns, and opportunities become visible only when the mind is quiet enough to notice them. Stillness prepares you for decisive action. Pausing does not mean avoiding movement. It means choosing the right moment to move. Those who practice stillness often act with greater impact because their actions are informed, intentional, and well-timed. Focus protects momentum. Distractions fragment progress and drain energy. Focus creates continuity, allowing small actions to compound over time. When attention is guarded, progress becomes steady rather than sporadic. Silence, stillness, and focus shift power inward. Instead of proving strength through noise and activity, strength is demonstrated through control, clarity, and intentional restraint. Obstacles are often viewed as interruptions, but they are better understood as invitations to grow. Resistance exposes the limits of comfort and forces development beyond familiar patterns. Without challenge, potential remains untested and strength remains theoretical. Growth requires pressure, and obstacles provide the environment where capacity is expanded. Resistance reveals what habits, beliefs, and mindsets need refinement. When progress is blocked, it becomes clear what is ineffective or misaligned. Obstacles strip away assumptions and highlight weaknesses that would otherwise remain hidden. This process is not meant to discourage, but to clarify and strengthen foundation. Character is formed under tension, not convenience. Easy paths do not demand discipline, patience, or integrity. Resistance demands all three. Each obstacle presents a choice between compromise and commitment. Over time, repeated choices in the face of difficulty shape identity and define character. Obstacles train resilience by forcing adaptation. When one path closes, creativity is required to find another. Resistance sharpens problem solving and strengthens perseverance. Those who learn to endure pressure without losing direction develop a depth that cannot be gained through ease. Growth through resistance builds confidence rooted in experience rather than theory. Overcoming difficulty provides evidence of capability. Each challenge faced and navigated becomes proof that progress is possible even under strain. This kind of confidence is stable because it is earned, not imagined. Refinement occurs when resistance slows momentum enough to require precision. Speed often hides flaws, but obstacles expose them. Adjustments made under pressure improve efficiency and effectiveness. What survives resistance emerges stronger, clearer, and more refined. Obstacles also reveal priorities. Under pressure, what truly matters rises to the surface. Distractions lose importance and focus sharpens. Resistance forces evaluation of commitments and clarifies where energy should be invested. Character development requires consistency under stress. It is easy to act with integrity when circumstances are favorable. Resistance tests whether values are conditional or constant. Each decision made in difficulty reinforces discipline and strengthens moral clarity. Resistance humbles the ego while strengthening resolve. It reminds you that progress is a process, not a guarantee. This humility keeps learning active and growth continuous. Obstacles prevent stagnation by demanding continual improvement. When obstacles are understood as instruments rather than enemies, perspective shifts. Resistance becomes a tool that shapes strength, sharpens discipline, and forms depth of character. Identity is not formed by isolated moments, but by repeated intentional choices. Every decision, no matter how small, reinforces a pattern that slowly shapes who you become. When choices are made deliberately rather than impulsively, life gains direction and coherence. Intentionality turns daily actions into building blocks of character rather than reactions to circumstance. Guarded attention is the foundation of intentional living. What you consistently focus on begins to influence how you think, what you value, and how you act. Attention is not unlimited, and when it is scattered, identity becomes fragmented. Guarding attention means deciding in advance what deserves access to your mind and what does not. Direction emerges from focus sustained over time. Without guarded attention, priorities shift constantly and progress becomes inconsistent. Intentional choices align actions with purpose, ensuring that movement is not random. Over time, this alignment creates momentum that pulls life forward in a clear and defined direction. Identity strengthens when attention is protected from distraction and comparison. Constant exposure to external opinions and expectations distorts self-perception. Guarded attention preserves clarity by reducing noise. When fewer voices compete for influence, inner conviction grows stronger and more stable. Long-term impact is rarely the result of dramatic moments. It is produced through consistency guided by intention. Choices repeated daily, when aligned with purpose, compound into outcomes T. Hat-shaped careers, relationships, and legacy. Small decisions made with care carry more weight than occasional bursts of effort. Guarding attention also protects emotional and mental energy. Distractions drain focus and weaken resolve. When attention is managed intentionally, energy is directed toward growth rather than reaction. This conservation of energy allows deeper work and sustained effort over long periods. Intentional choices create boundaries that define identity. Saying yes to one path requires saying no to others. Each boundary reinforces values and clarifies priorities. Over time, these boundaries become the framework within which discipline and consistency thrive. Direction becomes sustainable when choices are rooted in conviction rather than convenience. Short-term comfort often conflicts with long-term vision. Intentional living requires choosing what aligns with future outcomes over what satisfies immediate desire. This discipline separates momentary satisfaction from lasting fulfillment. Guarded attention trains awareness. It sharpens the ability to recognize distractions before they take control. This awareness allows for course correction without derailment. Instead of drifting unconsciously, life becomes navigated with clarity and purpose. Identity, direction, and long-term impact are the natural results of how choices are made and attention is managed each day.